Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. I'm Tamiko Pugh, also known as the Empowering Diva. Each week, you'll hear inspirational interviews as well as actionable tips and strategies that you can implement into your daily life to help you live a life of passion, purpose, and potential. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump into today's episode of Living the Empowered Life. Welcome to today's episode of Living the Empowered Life. I'm your host, Tamiko Pugh, also known as the Empowering Diva. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with speaker, preacher, author, and strategist, Detra M. Trueheart. Detra is a faith mentor and life purpose generator to women. She's the CEO of Trueheart Speaks Enterprises, which is a lifestyle management and empowerment firm where she helps individuals get out of their own way and get to the business of living by showing them how to get quiet, get clear, get unstuck, and get started. Detra, welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast.
Thank you so much. Hey, I'm so excited to be here.
Personally, I've known Detra for probably about 6 years now. We are both from Buffalo, New York. She still lives in Buffalo. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. And we both love to empower women and girls. We're both part of an amazing women's empowerment group called Women in the Spotlight Going Global. And what I love about Detra is that she loves God and she incorporates him in her daily life and her business. So I think that's amazing because you don't see a lot of women that incorporate both God into their business and their personal life. So Detra, again, welcome to the Living the Empowered Life podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and congratulations on your podcast. So I know you just, started, a little while ago. So kudos to you on doing, obviously you're doing amazing work, but now being in a space where creating even more legacy work where, for years and years and years to come, people will be able to come back and listen to all of your empowered life stories and messages. So congrats.
Thank you so much. And you know what? The funny thing is I was supposed to start this podcast like 2 years ago. And then last year I was like, okay, I'm going to do it this year. And I created the flyer and all this stuff. I never did it. I allowed fear to take over, procrastination, and just really not thinking I was good enough. And so this year I was like, you know what? This is the year to execute. This is the year of execution. So everything that God told me to do, I'm going to do it and I'm going to execute it. And so that's why I started the Living the Empowered Life podcast this year.
I love it.
And
I love it.
I had the flyer done last year. I used the same flyer and just changed the date.
Yep. Sometimes that's what you have to do. I think the hardest thing, which is part of what I share in my, my messaging and what I do is just helping people get out of their own way. And so a lot of times we overcomplicate what God simplifies, right? And so he tells us to do something. And when he tells us to do it, he really knows that we have everything that we need in that moment to do it. We feel like we need more. And I'm right along with you. There are some things that I have been wanting to do, and this is going to be that year of execution for me as well.
I love it. Year of execution. And so speaking of faith or turning your fear into faith, you are a faith mentor. So tell us a little bit about what does that mean? What does it mean to be a faith mentor?
I think just in the simplest terms is just really helping people to not only find their faith, but to increase and strengthen and work it, to activate your faith. A lot of us, say we have faith, but we don't really know how to cultivate our faith. We don't know how to work our faith. We don't know how to walk in our faith. And so for me, my goal really is just to kind of help to simplify that. And to let you know that okay, so you say you have faith, then what are you willing to do? This is what it means, right? When we say faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God, right? It is impossible to please God without faith. And so if we say that we want to do the work of God and we say that we want to walk, in the promises of God, but we don't have faith, right? I was just talking to somebody yesterday And we were talking about just kind of taking those steps, similar to like where we are now, doing things that you didn't think you could do. And Martin Luther King says that faith is taking a step, without the staircase, right? Without knowing the next step, right? And so for me, the goal is to help you get out of your own way as a faith mentor and take those steps of faith into what it is that you know that you're supposed to be doing.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. And I think that we all need someone in our life that can actually be a faith mentor or an accountability partner or a coach or someone that's going to help us to get to that next level. So I love the fact that you call it a faith mentor, and it's biblical. The Bible
Mm-hmm.
talks about faith, and everything that I do, I try to make sure that it makes sense and that it's from God. And so I know that the work you're doing is definitely from God. So keep up the good work.
Thank
Really
you.
love that. Yes. And I love that you work with young girls through your scholarship enrichment and leadership program. One of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I really believe, in the words of the late, great Whitney Houston, is I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that still holds true today. So how important is it for young girls to engage in leadership programs such as yours? And tell us a little bit about it. Tell us the name of the program, why you started it, and why it's important for girls to engage in these types of programs.
So I think the first reason, so I'll start backwards. The reason I think it's important for girls to participate in programs like mine is really to create a safe space for them to be girls, right? And so to be a safe space where they can, learn about themselves without judgment, and they can learn about other girls, and they can, sometimes just because we look alike doesn't mean that we are alike, right? Or just because we look different doesn't mean that we actually are different. We could have similarities, and we could have, certain things that, like, you could be Latina and I could be Black, or you could be white and I could be Black, but there could be so many commonalities that sometimes just being in the space of school and other spaces, that it doesn't allow for us to just put all of that other stuff down and just be. And so my program creates that. And so in addition to that, it also creates an opportunity for them to become their best selves and present their best selves. And so it is called the Young Miss Buffalo Pageant Scholarship and Enrichment Program. We're celebrating 20 years this year. And
Congratulations.
thank you so much. And we are for girls 13 to 17. And it's a 16-week program. We start in April and we go all the way through to August, and it's personal development and pageant prep all combined in one. And we culminate into an annual pageant at the end of the year. And so I used to compete in pageants, and so I know the importance of confidence, and I just know what it taught me about competition, healthy competition, unhealthy competition, presenting your best self, showing up as your best self. And I wanted girls to be able to have that expertise, and I wanted them to be able to have that experience. And so for me, I knew what it was like to be in a space where at that time, a lot of times I was the only Black girl competing. And so even though I did compete in some Black pageants, the white pageants, I would be the only one. And I knew that the experiences that I was getting from those, a lot of our girls didn't. And so my program initially started out as an inner city program. And what we were finding over the years is that we would have girls who, even through the residency, would have a parent who lived in Buffalo and a parent who lived in Kenmore, a parent who lived in Buffalo, a parent who lived in Cheektowaga. And so we were like, well, if they're coming, why don't we just open it up? Because we felt like, again, girls, are having, they were finding something in our program that was drawing to them, and that they were drawn to. And so we wanted to be able to say, well, rather than saying you only have to live in Buffalo, how about if you feel like we can do a great, we're doing a great work, and you feel like you can get something out of it, then come on. So that's a little bit about like just how it came to be, and why I think it's important. And I think, it's funny because I just got a inbox from one of our queens from, I think Ashley's in 2011. And she literally just said, hey, I just want to let you know that the work that you're doing is still working. I went to a work event, a work dinner, and it was a dinner setting where they had to do the etiquette, basically. So we do an etiquette luncheon and an etiquette workshop, as well as we take them to an etiquette dinner where they get a chance to apply what they've learned at the etiquette workshop. And so she basically told me, like, I watched my colleagues struggle with, the different types of silverware to use. And I remember learning that. Now, mind you, we're 2020. This was like 2011, almost 7, 8, 9 years ago, that the work that we do still carries on beyond the program. And that really is what's important to me, is that it's a stepping stone. And so it doesn't just stop at the end of the year or at the end of the program where they get the tools, but then it stops at just, the pageant. But everything that we teach them throughout the personal development piece, and even just in general, the experiences they take away and they can use them in other areas.
They can, and I love that. And I think even in pageantry and these leadership development classes for young girls, it allows you to feel confident when you're in other social settings. Like she said, even with the etiquette workshop, going into a setting and knowing that the dinner etiquette, and it makes you feel just a little bit more confident. You know what I mean? So I think that's really good. Confidence is something that even as adults we lack, because I've gone into dinners and I'm like, which fork should I use?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I'm watching other people. So I actually need to come back and take your etiquette course so that I can feel more confident. But I think it's great for our young girls to actually understand that and know what it's like to have etiquette at a table.
Yeah. And I think the other part is, and I don't know, I'm trying to remember what the saying is, but it's kind of like, remember, who you were at that age and think about what you needed and give it to them. And so I try to be, and even my board and those that I bring in, we do a lot of partnerships with people to come in and do a lot of the workshops. And so the goal really is to try to give them what we didn't have, or even more of what we had back then now, so that they can be equipped, and so that they don't necessarily, it's kind of like those questions, what would you tell your 21-year-old self, or what would you say to your 15-year-old self? And so my program really is somewhat answering that question. Like, this is what I would say. These are the things that I would do. This is the kind of stuff that I would equip you with that I felt like either I didn't have or I didn't take advantage of.
Right. That's awesome. So tell us how, if someone that's listening to this, if it touches them, they want to be a mentor, or they want to support, how can they support your program?
So they can go to our website, which is YMBP, which is youngmissbuffalopageant.org. And they can go to our Get Involved button, and they can, if they're in the local area, obviously, and they want to become a volunteer, they can go to our serve space. But if you're not from the local area and you just want to sponsor the program, like we do in-kind sponsorships, we do monetary. So we are a 501c3. Let me just say that we're a non-for-profit. We are an official 501c3. And so all donations are tax deductible. And so if you want to make a monetary donation, you can support what we do with the organization, because we feed them every Saturday. We meet with them every Saturday from 10 to 2:30. Once a month, we're there from 10 to 5:30. We do girls' night out events. So if you want to sponsor a girls' night out event, we've done paint nights, bowling, and that's really where the girls get a chance to have fun and get to know each other. We've done jewelry making. We do a sleepover. So if they want to support, I would say financially, especially because I know you have listeners from all over, they can go to our website and click ymvp.org/donate and make a donation to the organization.
Awesome. I love it. And it's purposeful work. We're all put on this earth to live out a specific purpose. We're all assigned to a specific person or a group of people. So I love to support work that is purposeful. And one of the principles of living the empowered life is to live a life of purpose. So for you, as a life purpose generator, how do you help women generate or find their life purpose?
So the goal behind that statement really was, if you think about a generator, right? So like a lot of people keep generators, especially in like specifically like here in Buffalo, if it snows or maybe in spaces where, I don't know, like tornadoes or hurricanes, I'm not familiar with that space, but anywhere where like electricity goes out and you need a generator to until the source kind of kicks in, you need a generator to kind of keep things running until you get into full steam ahead. head. And so that is somewhat kind of like what I do as a life purpose generator. My goal really is to help you to get kicked back into gear, into not necessarily just living and existing, but really living a purposeful life, right? Living intentional. And a lot of times we get to a space where we settle, where we get comfortable, where we feel like, well, like this is all that there is to life. And my goal as a life purpose generator really is to kick you into gear and to let you know that there is a group of people who is assigned to you, that is assigned to your story, that is assigned to your successes and your flaws, right? And your failures, and that you have a responsibility to show up, right? And so it's not always just only about finding your purpose, but also positioning yourself so that purpose can find you. And I say that because in one of my upcoming courses that I've taught a couple times called Push Into Purpose, is that for me, I found my love of speaking through pageantry. I didn't automatically know. I knew that I had the gift to speak. I've been talking for my whole entire life, so talking was not an issue. But speaking with intention and really understanding that my words had impact, it first happened as my first crown, which was Miss Buffalo. I was speaking in front of a group of 7th and 8th graders. And I don't know about you, but you ever, if you remember the first time you did something that you knew you were supposed to be doing and it clicked, right? It was just like, this is it. Like, and I didn't know at that time, and this was years ago, like I was Miss Buffalo in 1997. So at that time, you know, when you think about all of the motivational speakers that are happening now, back then, it was like Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, right? Like, well, like you didn't even know that you could, like you were still trying to figure out how people made money doing that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
And so I just knew that that was something that I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And so for me, my goal is to help you to position yourself and to be in a space where, again, purpose finds you and you find purpose. And sometimes you don't necessarily know what it is, but you're positioning yourself and aligning yourself to be in that space where when it clicks, you're like, dang, this is it.
I love that. I love the fact that you, as a life purpose generator, you said until the source kicks in. So that's something that really stuck out to me, until the source comes in. And like I said, one of the principles of living the empowered life is understanding your life purpose. And oftentimes when I'm working with clients, one of the things that I run into is we're looking for purpose on the outside, from outside sources. So from what people tell us, what we see on TV, or they're like, oh, you should do this or you should do that, when everything that we have is already inside of us. Yes. Whatever our life purpose is, it's already inside of us. It could be something that we experienced in life, and now that becomes our life purpose. So yes, everything that we have is already inside of us, and it just takes someone like the life purpose generator to help us to allow that source to kick in. So, you know, so that it'll come full circle. So I think that's awesome. And the next thing I was going to ask you about, and you mentioned it a little bit, your masterclass, Push Into Purpose. I know you have that coming up soon. So what exactly is Push Into Purpose?
So Push Into Purpose is a 4-week masterclass that I created about 2 or 3 years ago. And it really was an opportunity for people to some extent, push into purpose. And what it does is we go through 4 weeks of training in helping you to unlock, you know, what's on the inside of you. And it's an acronym for pressing past your fears, as well as helping you to master your beliefs and your behaviors. You helping you to get unstuck so that you can unlock your unique gifts and talents, helping you to stay in your own lane so that you can share your gifts and talents with others, and then also helping you to push so that you can helping others push so that they can pursue their purpose, right? And so we're not here just to do for ourselves, we're here to do for others. And so I literally take you through 4 weeks of helping you to push into your purpose, because a lot of times, you know, people want to say, oh, I want to find my purpose. What is my purpose? And I'm not here to help you find your help you to tell you what your purpose is. I'm here to help you get out of your own way so that you can unlock some of the things that would help you so that when purpose shows up, you can better identify it.
Yes. And I love how you say, get out of your own way. So often we are in our own way. We are the person that's blocking us from the blessing or blocking ourselves from going to that next level in life or understanding our life purpose. So getting out of your own way, ladies, we got to stop doing that. It's literally like self-sabotage. Get out of
It's
your own way.
totally like, like just stop doing it. And you know what? And the crazy part, we can say that, but we've all done it. We've all done it. We all sometimes do it even when we're called to hire, right? And so we get to a level and we're like, yes, like I've done it. Like I'm here. I've accomplished this. And then God says, but that's not it. And you're like, what?
Mm, 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 mm.
Like, but I thought this was, and it's never it, right? And so it's glory to glory, faith to faith, level to level. And so we're always, I think, evolving and always in a space of getting out of our own way because, God is always calling us higher. And that sometimes is scary because you're like, well, God, like I can do even greater than what I'm doing now. And God says yes. And so it is like always we're, because we don't think that we're qualified. We don't think that we're ready. We don't think, like you said, that fear and that procrastination. We don't think that we have something that people want to hear. Right. And so at the end of the day, when we understand, like when we're operating at purpose, there are people who are connected to us. So there are people who have been waiting for you to show up and who have been waiting to hear your podcast because your words are what they need in order to push forward.
Girl, you are preaching to the choir. Yes, and I think a lot of people know my story. You know my background, you know my story. I started off, doing domestic violence work, which I still do. That's what my nonprofit focuses on, the domestic violence awareness stuff. But that's how I literally started out, sharing my story, getting speaking engagements. I wrote a book about it, and I thought that was it. I was like, this is enough. Like, I wrote this book. I don't want to do anything else. So I was kind of stuck in the book, Wounds to Wisdom. I was stuck in that place of wounds to wisdom. Like, that's what I knew, and I wanted to stay there. And God was like, no, the next step is living the empowered life. We already know that you turned your wounds into wisdom, but what's next? What about the women? You don't want to leave your audience stuck there. So living the empowered life had been in the works for 3 years.
Nice.
And I just didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, I'm scared. But now it's like it's needed and it's refreshing for me because I had to go through those living the empowered life steps. And it feels so much better to be on the other side of the whole wounds to wisdom and, now living the empowered life. Like it feels so much better and it feels like freedom. And so I want other people to have that freedom. And I think it would have been selfish of me to not move forward in that area. So that's what living the empowered life is about, though. It's about overcoming your fears, understanding your life purpose, walking in confidence and walking in your authentic power because so many of us have lost our power.
Yeah.
And so how do you take that power back? And that's why we're here with living the empowered life.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes. And so, okay, Detra, you do a lot of stuff. I'm like, this girl is on the move, like not even including being a wife, right? Being a mom. Girl, you're a preacher. You're a speaker. You're an author. You're a strategist. You're the go-to girl for all things empowerment, pretty much. And so, how do you balance life, business, family, and career? Like, how do you balance all of that?
Well, I think there's no real formula for it. I think I just kind of figure it out, and I'll just going to be transparent, because every season is different. And so we're actually recruiting for our class of 2020 for the pageant right now. And so between now and August, it gets busy. And so for me, I kind of look at my calendar and I try to figure out what are the busy seasons, what are the not so busy seasons. And so when we don't have busy seasons, I try to some extent, kind of like how the bears hibernate, I try to use that space to rest and to make sure I'm always trying to be present, at home and that sort of thing. But I'm also very aware, I'm, letting my family know, okay, so, it's YMBP time. So it's going to be busy, right? We're going to be, our Saturdays are going to be busy, different things like that. And so I use my planner to make sure like I'm aware of different things that are going on, but I also try to make sure that I not necessarily fit everything in, but I use boundaries. And so I can't go to every event. I can't go to, everything. And so the things that are priority to me in those seasons are the things that I prioritize. And so I might miss a few things in the busy seasons because there's certain things that I have to take care of, but in the not so busy seasons, I'm able to do more of that.
Yes, and I love that. I love that you said creating boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're afraid to create those boundaries, or we're afraid to tell people, no, I can't do this. I don't have time, or just say no unapologetically
Mm-hmm.
without a reason behind it.
Yep.
What I've just started doing as far as balance is incorporating my husband in a lot of the stuff that I do. So we started incorporating each other. So I'm doing the podcast. He's a producer. He's really good he used to have a radio show. So he produces the podcast. So that allows him to be a
Nice.
part of it. Even when we have our Purple Affair for our domestic violence awareness event, he loves music. So guess what? We don't have to pay a DJ. He can be the DJ.
Yes,
So
yes,
it's
yes.
really learning to incorporate my husband and my family in some of the work that I do. And then setting those boundaries, saying, no, I'm not going to take phone calls from a certain time. And it's
Mm-hmm,
okay that I
mm-hmm.
don't do that. It's okay that I don't respond to your text message immediately. Like, it can wait. So just learning to do those things as well, and saying no, just unapologetically, like, no,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and just being okay with that,
Yep.
and not being a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. That is something that I think that I have found even in, my tribe of the women that I've connected with is, people pleasing is huge because, we're doers, we're helpers, we're nurturers. And so, but sometimes you can't, as it says, you can't put the oxygen tank on somebody else before putting it on yourself. And so a lot of times we tend to self-sacrifice and, do so much, so much, so much for everyone else. And then when it comes down to us, we get the short end of the stick. And so there's a saying, and, the funny part is I feel like I was saying this before she was saying it, but she gets the credit for it, is Iyanla Vanzant says that you teach people how to treat you. And I had been teaching that, and I was like, I've been saying that. Like, how's she gonna take the credit? But it's okay. Everybody know Iyanla, so we're not gonna fight over who said it first.
I'm gonna give you the credit, though.
Oh, thank you, boo. Thank you. But the reality is we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to respect us. We teach people how to respect our time. And so even as business people, right, we teach people how to respect how we do business, right? And so we have to set the tone for how we manage things. And if we don't do that, we can't be upset for because people do what we allow. And so if we continue to allow them to overstep boundaries and allow them, like if we continue to say yes to things that we don't want to do, then you have the resentful yes, like we give a resentful yes, right? And so we didn't really want to do it, but we didn't know how to say no. And it's funny because I teach some of those things in my Time Hacks for Busy Women training, which is a training that I did about 3 or 4 years ago that I'm resurrecting as a live training webinar, and it's going to be called Time Hacks 2.0 that I'm going to do as a live training in person as well. And some of the things is going through like what it looks like to say no to somebody, already having in your head certain things that that you can say to somebody when no is not the correct answer. Like, there's some people that when you say no, they don't buy that. And so there's certain things that you would need to say in order to get out of having to literally have an argument with somebody over why you really don't want to do something or you can't do it.
Wow, that's good. That's good. And just like Maxine Waters, she said, I'm reclaiming my time.
Child,
right?
Listen, claiming all of it.
It's time to reclaim all that time that we wasted on
Yes.
things.
Yes.
So, and that leads me to something else. I just thought about being so busy, being a wife and a mom, an entrepreneur, working with women. Like, the whole women's empowerment movement can be draining when you're working with other people. They're pulling off your energy and your spirit. How do you refuel? Like, what do you do to refuel after a long day or a long week?
So quiet time is important for me. So journaling is important, having quiet time. I still haven't figured out if I am an extrovert or an introvert because as extroverted as I am, I really love having my alone time. And so I just realized, I think it's called an ambivert. I think that's what I
That's
am.
it. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I am. And so for me, when I'm around people, because it sucks me dry, I have to get by myself to replenish. And so prayer time helps me replenish. Just silence and being by myself helps me replenish. Baths, girl time. So if it's not work time, but like just going out with some girlfriends, having a glass of wine and just laughing until you can't laugh anymore. Like that's really good for me. Just taking a drive and being by the water, like even though we're in Buffalo and we're like it's freezing here now, but when it's warm, like I love being by the water, I love the beach. That kind of stuff refreshes me, and so that is somewhat how I kind of refresh. I'm up early in the morning, and so that's kind of also my day to kind of like just kind of center myself, but alone time is a big refresher for me.
Yeah, it is. And it is for me too. People think I'm extroverted. I am. I love being around people. I just, I love the company of people. I love to see people smile. I love to see people have a good time. And they're
Mm-hmm.
often like, oh, you're the life of the party and, this, that, and the other. But when I get home, that's
Mm-hmm.
my time to sit back and relax. And I have my own space, my own room. I call it the empowerment room. I come in here and I
Mm-hmm.
light my candles. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just sit in silence because it
Yep.
helps me to replenish after a long day, especially if I'm working with, the nonprofit, working with domestic violence victims. It can be very draining. So I've
Mm-hmm.
learned how to really take care of myself and implement self-care.
Yeah.
So that's really very important because we can't work on an empty cup.
No.
So just making sure that our cup is full at all times. So one of the things that I implemented last year is practicing a morning ritual or a morning routine in an effort to start my day off in a positive way. So a lot of times I wake up. I always start off with a good stretch, followed by my morning prayer and meditation. And I love to recite positive affirmations. And so a lot of that stuff, I do it while I'm still laying in the bed. I'll wake up, stretch real good, and just talk to God for a moment and, just sit in silence. And then I like to recite positive affirmations or whatever I have going on that day. My affirmations will be based on, whatever task that I have. And it's some type of positive affirmation just to keep me going, so I can feel like I'm having a positive day. So what's your morning ritual? Or do you have one or something that you practice to help you prepare for the day ahead?
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I could call it a morning ritual, but I'm normally up. I've tried to probably for the last, I don't know, it hasn't been a year, but let's just say probably like 6 to 10 months, God has had me up at 6 in the morning
Mm.
for my prayer time. So my prayer time, my quiet time, my journaling time, and it could be all three. Sometimes I wake up and there's a lot going on. And so I might just spend that time before I get up to get my son ready for school. I might spend that whole entire time writing and just kind of flushing through kind of like thoughts and emotions and different things. I may spend that time silent and just listening, and whatever he says, I write. I may spend that time in prayer. Or like I said, like I may start out writing and then I may have like my Bible study time where I'll read and then something hits me. But that normally that hour and a half, sometimes I might be able to get 2 hours in if my son doesn't wake up. But that is my, just my time. And so like I have a space where, I might do a little bit of stretching while I'm listening but that specific time in the morning is that is my ritual. I don't know. I really don't know what to call it, but I've noticed that when I don't do it, I'm off.
Yeah, I noticed that too. So yeah, I mean, that will be a ritual, something you do every
Mm-hmm.
single day. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's important that we do have something, to get our day started, whether it's listening to inspirational music, reciting affirmations, something to really get you started for the day ahead. I think that's important. So thanks for sharing that with us.
You're
Um,
welcome.
do you have any other special events or any other initiatives that you're working on that you want to share?
Um, Well, I think outside of my Pushing the Purpose, which is coming, I'm actually going to be launching that at the end of February. My time hacks, don't have a date set for that, but I want to do that this month. But one of the things that I'm actually working on is bringing back my live event, which is the I Speak Life Live Empowerment Experience for Women. And so I did my last one 2 years ago, actually in Atlanta. And so, no, I did it in Buffalo, but in 2017, I brought it to Atlanta. And so I'm looking at bringing that back. And so I'm really excited about that. And really the possibility of a podcast. I don't even really know what I'm going to call it. um, but I am, for a while, I don't know if you remember, I did the morning life scope. And so I
I
was
was,
live every
yes.
morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am looking at the possibility of doing my morning life scope as a podcast, and not live, but just re-recording, recording whether they're interviews or just the teachings that I teach. And so I'm in prayer about what that looks like, because there's so many different things that I want to do. And I don't know about you. I don't want to limit myself, because sometimes I feel like God is like, whatever you want to do it. Like, I'm not holding you back. But then there are other times where it's like, okay, not right now. So I want to be limited in what I'm doing, but there are lots of things that I want to do this year that, like you said, whether it's fear, procrastination, I kind of decided like, well, maybe I shouldn't. And for me, this really is the year of execution. It's the year of taking risks. And I'm not necessarily tied to the outcome. I'm tied to execution. And so whatever happens on the other side of it, I'll learn from it and decide if I want to do it again. But there's some things that I think, and I don't know who this is for, I'm just going to say this because I hear it, that whoever is listening, like, sometimes it's not necessarily about, what's on the other side of it. Just do it. Right? Just do it. And you can decide whether you want to do it again after it's done. But a lot of us won't do it because we're like, well, what if it doesn't work out the way that I wanted it to? Or what if it's not what I thought it could be? Well, you won't know unless you try.
That's right. You won't know unless you try. And you know what, Detra? You won't know unless you try the I Speak
Yes.
Life podcast with Detra Trueheart. And the reason why I say I Speak Life, because I think I Speak Life is so powerful. It's a movement that you've already had. You've done the life scope.
Yeah.
Bringing back the I Speak Life live event. I mean, you can do an I Speak Life live podcast. Your live event can actually be turned into a live podcast. I think it's something so powerful about I Speak Life, like life into yourself and to other people. So I don't know. I just think that it's very powerful. Think about it.
I will. I just wrote it down.
Yes. I think it's just something very powerful. I always thought that your I Speak Life movement was very powerful. That was one of the things that attracted me to you. And you had the I Speak Life community, and then your morning life scopes were always very inspiring.
Thank you.
So absolutely. Yes. So, well, before we close out, I want you to do two things. I want you to share a final thought or a charge for the audience, and then just let us know how we can connect with you outside of the podcast.
Absolutely. So my final thought really is to get out of your own way, and whatever you know that it is that you're supposed to be doing. And it could be, something as simple as waking up at 6 a.m. for prayer. It could be signing up for a class. It could be going back to school. It could be, doing the research to start a business or a ministry. But my encouragement to you is that there are a group of people who is waiting for you, and they are waiting for you to show up. And I always equate this to, and there may not be a lot of people who are, Christian Bible, followers, but I equate this to the children of Israel. And what ended up happening is that when the children of Israel decided that they, weren't going to listen, they allowed a group of people to sway them into a decision where God had already promised them something, and they go into this land and they see the land, and they come back out, and even though they see the land that God has promised them, it looks like it's more than what they can handle, and so they basically say it's too much. Like, we love the land, but the people in the land. And so my challenge to you is not to let people keep you from something that God has already promised you. And sometimes you are the very person, like they were the very people getting in their own way. And because of that, God made them wait 40 more years. He allowed them to die off for 40 years until the next generation, 20 and under, could go in. And so my challenge to you is to not be the one who basically makes the people who are assigned to you wait until the next group of people comes up, because you decided to listen to people, or even to yourself, tell you that you are not worthy to go into something that God says that He has already prepared and qualified you for. Get out of your own way. The way that people can connect with me is through my website. So trueheartspeaks.com. You can find me at trueheartspeaks.com. That's TrueHeartspeaks.com. And I have a free training, which is 3 ways to get out of your own way today. It's a free mini masterclass. And if you scroll down on my homepage, type in your name and email address, it'll go automatically to you. And, just to connect with my tribe, you can find me on Facebook at Trueheart Speaks. So facebook.com/Trueheart Speaks. Also on Instagram, at Trueheart Speaks. I'm literally everywhere: LinkedIn, SoundCloud, YouTube, and like I said, anywhere else. And then I also have a free Facebook group for women that I'm actually reviving, which is the I Speak Life Society. Hence, Tamiko's.
Yes. I Speak Life Society, I Speak Life podcast. I love it.
Yes. And so you can join us there. So if you are a woman who is really like, you know what, this resonates with me, I want to get out of my own way, I need to figure out how to get around other women who can do that, then, this is the place for you, because we're all trying to get out of our own way at some point in place in our lives. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that we're ever at that point where we totally get out of our own way, simply because, like I said in the beginning, when God starts showing you bigger, you're like, ooh, wait a minute, I'm not ready for that yet. And you just kind of have to say, okay, God, if you believe I'm ready, then I am. And so that's how you can find me.
Awesome. Very, very powerful. Thank you so much. Listen, ladies, get out of your own way. Why? Because there are people waiting on you. Get out of your own way. Detra has a free masterclass, 3 steps to get out of your own way. Make sure you sign up for that. Detra, thank you so much for sharing with us. I took away a lot of great nuggets from our conversation, and I look forward to supporting your upcoming initiatives and anything else you have going on. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And if there's any way that I can support you, please let me know. Congrats again. I'm so excited about this new season for you.
Are you the go-to person in your group of friends? Do you have a zest for life and enjoy helping others reach their full potential? Do you feel a calling to make a difference in the world? If this is you, then you may want to consider becoming a life coach. Our next virtual online training begins March 31st, 2020. Our life coach training focuses on women who desire to motivate, inspire, and empower other women by using their skills, expertise, and experience to thrive as a personal development coach. Using the empowerment formula, participants will learn step-by-step tools, tips, and techniques needed to attract great clients and build a thriving, purposeful, and profitable coaching business. Get all the details and register at www.tamikolori.com/life coach training. So ladies, listen. It's time to discover and live your life purpose. It's time to value yourself. It's time to set goals that are going to move you forward in life. It's time to rebuild your confidence. It's time to fearlessly walk in your authentic power. And ladies, it's time to live the empowered life.